You told me you would like to read a passage.
Yeah, I can read a passage here. Just to kind of set this up a little bit. I'm gonna put my little reading glasses on, or this isn't gonna go well. To just set this up, this is a passage after the body is found by Brandon Turner, and the real estate agent Joyce Blackstone discover the body, and you need to read the book to find out how that happens. But Turner went back to the scene of the crime after the fact, and that's where this kind of picks up. His interaction is really with Detective Silverin throughout this one. So Turner was walking along the side of the road, trying to find a fresh footprint in the dirt or any other trace of someone recently being on the road. What are you doing back here? Turner whirled around and stood face to face with Detective Silverin. Damn, he thought, this could get a little sticky. When we were leaving earlier, I thought I saw something on the road that looked suspicious. Thought I'd check it out. Silverin tilted his head and squinted at him. Now, why would you do that, Mr. Turner? I'm a concerned citizen. Mumbled Silverin. He was eyeing Turner while working that same cigar back and forth in his mouth. Well, Mr. Concerned Citizen, what do you think you saw? A man. I thought I saw a man crossing the road right about here, he said, waving his hand along the side of the road where they were standing. I happened to glance in my rearview mirror and caught a glimpse of someone, but when I looked again, he was gone. Well, I don't know how things are where you come from, but round here, there's no law says a man can't cross the road. Ever hear of jaywalking, Detective? Turner said in a sarcastic tone. Ever hear of 3 hots and a cot, Turner? Silverin shot back. Because that's where you're headed if you don't start being straight with me. Turner blew out a breath. He probably shouldn't have come back to the scene. He knew there was a chance that the investigation would still be going on at the dock, yet something inside of him pushed him to return and look around. Now he'd put himself in a position that forced him to tell Silverin the truth or face an obstruction charge. Let's just say I dabbled in law enforcement in my past life. Silverin squinted at him again. You a cop? Retired, he said. Detective. 23 years with the New York City Police Department, Narcotics Division, Lower East Side. Silverin stared at Turner. That explains your attention to detail when we spoke earlier, he said. I guess you can take the man out of the job, but you can't take the job out of the man. He nodded. This changes things, Turner. Changes things how, he said, furrowing his brow. I can already see you have good instincts, replied Silverin. You found the body and you're a cop. Your perspective could be helpful. Former cop, he said sternly while folding his arms across his chest. And I already told you everything I know about the body. He paused, then added, well, except this. I think the victim is Jeff Peterson, a road construction worker. I saw him at the bed and breakfast I'm staying at. That's right, confirmed the detective. The dead guy is Jeff Peterson. And I'm assuming that since you referred to him as the victim, you also think he was murdered. Look, Silverin, I don't know if he was murdered or took his own life. What I do know is that it's your job to figure that out, not mine. Yet here you are, following up on a lead. Turner glared at Silverin. Like you said, detective, you can't take the job out of the man. And I was on that job for 23 years. The first 15 as a homicide detective, and then 8 years busting crackheads and dealers in one of the rougher areas in the city. He shook his head. That's enough for me. Yet here you are, repeated Silverin. I wasn't following up on a lead, Turner said, his voice stern. The man looked out of place. He was hunkered down in a squatting position as he made his way across the road. It didn't smell right. I figured if I came back and found something that might help, I would turn it over to you and the fine men and women of the Magnolia Bluff Police Department. Take it from there. He stared at Silverin. That's all. I'm retired and I plan on staying that way. Silverin chomped on his cigar and appeared to be pondering what he'd just heard. Turner hoped the detective would take him at his word and leave him alone. He didn't want to get mixed up in a murder case 2 days after arriving in town, or ever. He turned away from Silverin, who still had his thinking cap on, and noticed that the road where they were standing was high enough that he could look over and see part of the lake. He wondered when he'd get the chance to pull a bass or a nice catfish out of that lake. Silverin interrupted his thoughts. Okay, have it your way, Turner, he said. But since you're here, tell me again what you saw. Turner blew out an audible breath. I'll tell you what I don't see, he said. Orange pylons. I don't see any orange pylons lining the road, any men at work signs, and I don't see any trucks. When I was at the B&B this morning, Lily told me that Peterson and his crew only ate breakfast there when they were working a job. She said they were repairing a stretch of road out near the reservoir. So where is all the stuff that would normally slow you down when driving by the roadwork? It didn't occur to me when Joyce and I drove out earlier and that there was no road work happening. But now that I know the body belongs to Peterson, it makes me think that he and whoever he was with at the B&B this morning were out this way for something other than repairing the road. Silverin slowly nodded his head. Good information, Turner, he said. I'd like you and Ms. Blackstone to come by the station tomorrow and give me an official statement about everything. Can you come out of retirement long enough to do that? Turner didn't like Sovereign. He understood him, but he didn't like him. He reminded him too much of some of the guys he'd worked with in New York, trying to be the hard-ass cop who isn't as smart as he thinks he is. What time, detective? Any time after 11, he said. By the time I leave here tonight, I'm going to need my beauty sleep in the morning. He grinned at Turner. Oh, and you might want to take a shower before showing up tomorrow. You smell all fishy like you took a dive in the reservoir. Turner walked back toward his truck, shaking his head. When he was about 20 yards down the road, he turned around, threw both his hands up, and flipped off Sovereign. The detective, seeing double birds flying his way, yelled out, "What the hell are you doing, Turner?" "Just waving good night," he said sarcastically. "See you in the morning, detective."
That was great.
Bravo.